We're going to call this February 10th monthly business meeting to order. Would anyone like to lead us in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any revisions to the agenda this evening? Okay. Public comment. This item is the appropriate place to make comments about an item not on the agenda but within the board's jurisdiction. Each action item on the agenda has its own public comment period. I do not believe that we have any public comment this evening that I've received. So, move on. Public correspondence, you'll see there's a letter attached from there for anyone to review. And we will move on to the approval of minutes. So we'll do each one separately. That's what I've learned. Okay. All right.
You never know.
Elizabeth, what did it mean to say CAO and then mayor at the bottom of the first two or three?
That's a mistake.
Okay. Thought I was missing.
Yeah, my apologies, this must have been the wrong template. It should say the board chair and district clerk.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. And then I just wasn't clear because on January 6th, I was via Zoom, and there's two meetings, the special board meeting and the other, right? Am I looking at this right? And one of them I'm listed as absent and the other one I'm listed as present. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The first one I'm
What do
listed
you
as
think
absent, but I was there via Zoom, so I don't know how you normally say that. If I'm
Well,
present.
that means present.
Okay, so I guess that would be, I would just amend that first one to say, I was present.
I have no idea why it's there twice.
That's okay.
But yes, you were present, yeah.
One was the, the other, whatever. Yeah. So just,
I had somebody shoot up loading this.
okay.
All right, I got it, thank you. Are there any other amendments to the first one? So can we entertain a motion on the first one?
I move we accept the January 6th.
With the amendment.
With the amendment.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, motion by Rainey, seconded by Darcy, all in favor? So we'll move on to the special meeting of Board of Trustees for January 6th. Second one.
What do we need to change that bottom? The CAO and mayor, does that need to be?
Yeah, amended.
Motion amended, yeah. So, I move we approve with the amendment of changing the titles.
Second. Okay, so moved by Darcy, seconded by Quincy, all in favor? Okay. And then the monthly business meeting Board of Trustees for January 13th.
I move we accept.
Seconded. Moved by Rainey and seconded by Jerry, all in favor. Okay. I do not believe we have a student trustee report this evening. So we will move into the WEA, WCEA update.
I'll keep this really short. Just have a couple things I want to share with you guys. First off, it's pretty hard to believe I'm over the conflict halfway point, which is shocking. But I just wanted to mention that we had the opportunity to meet with Dave Woody from the Department of Labor at the end of last month, and I mentioned that. We filled the boardroom with participants. Every table is full. Well, labor management trainings can be a little dry. We did have some technical difficulties with some entertaining videos, so that helped us along the process. But it's just really nice to just have a refresher. And I just find that refreshing those trainings really helps our labor teams process. And the whole idea is just to solve problems at the lowest level. So if you're interested in kind of reviewing the part of our CBA, it's Article 22. But I just wanted to share with you guys, it really works. And so the buildings themselves have at least around 4 meetings a year. And then if needed, we can have 2 district level meetings, but we sometimes usually only need 1 district meeting. And we don't bring very much to that agenda because a lot of things are solved up at the building level. But it's a great place to connect all the gears of other committees and communicate about what's going on in the robust teams. So I just appreciate that process and thank you, Dave, for putting that together. And really the thing that's kind of blowing our minds right now is just the number of people retiring. So you're gonna see some more on the list, and as we get closer to March 1st, we'll probably have a few more coming in, but there's gonna be a lot of celebrations at the end. So really just wanted to be here and kind of know what's going on, and just, if there's not gonna be snow, we're happy there's sunshine, and just appreciate the support, and again, one of the things we discussed in that labor management meeting is that we are just so fortunate to be able to have interest-based bargaining in our district. Our neighboring schools in the county really look to us to see what does that actually look like in process. And I think we're opening our eyes slowly but surely. So, thanks, guys.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
How did that originally start? Do you know, was it the union that said, let's try this, or was it administration? No.
It happens, do you remember this?
It happened with Heather Davis.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so
That's
it's
when
an
it
administration
started.
idea, and then everybody was on board with it.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering how other schools go about it.
yeah, it was a joint decision
Okay.
between the district and the union at the time.
Okay. So now it's part of, so it must be like
Yeah.
10 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
so.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
That's helpful to know.
But it is,
close to 10 years.
it's really surprising, and I know, Jim and I were chatting, and he was at a superintendent's meeting, and they were like, wait, you do that stuff in interest-based bargaining? Yeah, that's the reason.
Right.
Again, just so grateful for the support of that process, and I know it puts a huge burden on board members that are on those teams as well. It's a big ask, and also teachers and administrators, but it really is worth it. And these labor management meetings are part of that process, and so it just all fits together nicely. So, thanks for your support.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So to be on the labor management, is that just something you apply for? Do you have to also then sit like as a union?
You have to be a member.
Right, but then you have to be like a city, like you're the president, like you have to have a, like, so each school has a representative, right, that sits
Yeah.
on the union board per se. So how does the labor management committee in each building work? Could you just tell us about that? Like who can be on it?
So there's, we just kind of look at the wording, so basically there can be certain number of members in each team, so 3 teachers for each building group. But then oftentimes what happens is that somebody from the building team then serves on the district team as well. Or you may have completely different people at the district team. And so one of the things we try to do is kind of streamline those committees. You've seen some of those documents, and Ms. Crumb's been working on those for us to clean them up. So people showing interest, so I might send out a survey if they're interested in a leadership role. But there's a lot of training involved as far as how that process goes. And usually just kind of someone who's interested and kind of shows some natural leadership in their building. But it is really helpful at the district level to have some kind of unique teachers in place. So sometimes teachers that travel between buildings are a good fit for something like that because they can really weigh in on a different perspective. I try to make the teams make as much sense as possible. And then recently added a layer where we have some alternates so that we always have enough people. And those alternates were very intentional asks on my part for people that really understand that building's systems. And so because some of the things that are listed in our CBA that we discuss in those meetings really need experts in those areas, especially this time of year. So we're looking at enrollment numbers, looking at numbers of students in each section, what classes are gonna be offered, what they're gonna choose as soon as they start to register. And those are some of the places where we can have a really cohesive group of people working on those issues.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just nice to hear a little bit more about working together.
Yeah. Thanks. Good questions.
Okay, we will move into discussion and action items, starting with a program highlight with Lisa Wood.
I just liked it, I didn't realize I was a program pilot, I thought I was
Good thing you're ready.
I'm going to do a brief PD update. As I shared in January, the 25-26 professional development plan includes core principles in learning and instruction, as well as an alignment to the strategic plan, which guides the sessions that we offer to staff. Our latest professional development day was on the afternoon of Monday, January 26th. It's the afternoon because the morning is explicitly stated in the collective bargaining agreement that that is record-keeping time for teachers, so I cannot touch that. So I can only have the afternoon. That is mine to organize and plan some type of professional development. This year, it included district-wide CPR training, and that's led by our own certified instructors. So we now have 3 people in our district that are American Heart Association CPR certified instructors, which is really nice because we don't have to pay an additional fee for that. They have led training for us, and it is a blended training in that teachers or staff, because we provide it for both classified and certified staff. They do an online portion and at their own time. And they bring the certificate to the on-site skills test, and then the trainers actually do a skills test with them. And I'm happy to report we have 160 staff members in our district that are currently certified in CPR. This year, on that afternoon of January 26th at the middle and high school, the focus was the use of AI tools for teachers. I know. Katie, I too saw your article. I thought, wow, I run that across the valley. Staff took a deeper dive into a district program called Magic School AI, as well as Google AI tools. And that was led by our own tech department. Both Jacob Phillips and Dave Ritter led classes, sessions about those tools. They talked a lot about how to prompt correctly in Google Gemini. They talked about the use of Google Notebook, which personally is my favorite. I love that program. It has become really efficient for me. I just have to give you a quick little story. I had about 8 sheets of paper out on my table trying to analyze massed results from the fall. And Dave Ritter walked by and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I need to analyze this data, kind of see how we're doing with an assessment." And he said, "Why don't you put that into Google Notebook?" And I'm like, "What?" He showed it to me and I was like, oh, the light bulb went on. And it is the neatest thing if you haven't ever played around with it. It is just spit out all kinds of information for me really quickly. It was an efficient use of my time. And then the other neat thing about it was it created an infographic for me, so it made it look all nice and pretty. And then if I wanted presentation, it created the presentation for me. I just thought it was better than sliced bread. So that was great. They also, I will tell you that they also showed staff how to make a gym, and so they, what that is, it's an automatic, for example, they created an automated lesson plan framework so that teachers could just throw things in there and then it would spit things out for them. Applications, there were applications for formative assessments, for project-based learning, for exit tickets, for differentiation, a multitude of things. They really tried to hit on the use of it for efficiency purposes for teachers and really targeting kids in a way that would be very helpful to them so that they're not spending hours and hours lesson planning. So I thought that was really great. At Moldown, it's a little different. They had some different needs. Because our district PD team meets, and they all have building teams that meet, they generate what they really feel that they need at their building. And Moldown staff dove into an ADHD menu to gain more insight into how to better support their students. So they had a chance to discuss articles and table groups. They submitted a Google form where they provided feedback on takeaways as well as the next steps that they felt they needed. They were also supposed to have an hour of math training with Eliza Thomas from FECC. Unfortunately, the morning of the training, she came down sick. So we had to pivot, and instead we gave staff time to meet in their PLC groups and spend some time with some priority standards work. And then last but not least, we had run, lap, fight training. So in January, it is on a rotating basis, and this year it was Moldown's turn just to separate into grade levels with various run, lap, fight personnel and officers in different pods, and then they talk about what's pertinent to their building. We also did some additional run, lap, fight training with new staff so that everybody's kind of in the same place and on the same page. So that was a pretty successful day. Overall, I always love to have more professional development, but I'm confined by this collective bargaining agreement.
No pressure.
I can offer, optional training after school, and in the summer that doesn't seem as palatable to teachers, and so I'll do what I can with what I have.
Questions? I'm really excited about the AI. I was thinking maybe Katie was one of the could do a PD on AI. But I think it's great. I think there's so much fear around AI. And so the more comfortable the adults in the room get with using it, they can understand how it can be applied or how students also can use it, because it is obviously going to get used. So how do we all lead that through? And then as a user, it's easier to teach best practices or to understand it and not be as fearful of it. So I think it's really great that was a big portion. And so I think that's awesome. And I'm so happy it made you more efficient.
Me too. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Lisa.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to B, which is a WHS expansion owner representative. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. This is the February 2026 update to the expansion projects at the high school. And this is what I like to call the calm before construction phase of the project. Its design is complete, the bidding process has started, and right now the focus is just on making sure that things line up so construction can start smoothly. So with that, I'll dive into this update. As we do each month, starting with the budget, the only update here is total spent to date. So you can see that we are at $1,918,623, which is 5.25% of the overall budget. Things are on track there, so nothing major to note. I'm going to skip the GCCM contract status. That will get infilled as we finalize the bidding process and complete that phase of the project. So jumping into current schedule milestones, this all remains the same. Everything is still on track. The design team has hit their milestone dates, and as I mentioned, flowing right into the key monthly updates. Number one there, Annie did complete since last board meeting the 100% CD set of drawings for the athletic phase. That was done on March 3rd. And then that same week, right after that, Marcel posted the documents to all the bidding networks, and it went out to all the network of subcontractors on February 5th. And that's a 30-day process. Those bids are due March 5th. So we are right in the middle of that process, which is very exciting. We're all looking forward to that March 5th date. And then item number 3, as we've been tracking, Marcel is planning on their target of spring break, March 23rd, to mobilize and get construction fencing started out there to start the construction project. That would be Monday, March 23rd. And just to reiterate, that starts in the front northwest portion of the building. That parking loop will be shut down. The first thing to start is the gym foyer, that event center, which will be closed down, and starting the demolishing of that portion of the building, we'll start the project and kick things off. So those are the major items for the key monthly updates. I did want to note a couple other things that aren't listed here. The first one is we're planning to have a community update meeting again on March 4th. That would be at the high school, kind of give a sense of the final design and phasing plan for the project at that update. So I encourage anybody that's interested to attend that. And then also wanted to note that we've been working on a donor brochure, which is kind of potential donors have the opportunity to look at things that might go beyond the bond. That is now complete, and I think will be issued shortly. I think Dave has some copies of that. If anybody is interested, he can get those to you.
I think Mr. John might have a copy. Do you have a copy?
Do you have a hard copy of that?
Okay.
I think
I do on my table in my office. I can run back real quick.
And I have some too, like hand out.
They are printed now and finalized, so that process is rolling. So just wanted to note that.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. And then this month, again, not a lot of fancy visuals. Construction hasn't started, so not super exciting, but this is a sneak peek of our traffic parking access plan that we're working on, finalizing the logistics a little bit with the city of Whitefish for drop-off zones, temporary parking, access to the school, stuff like that, when this is finalized will be issued to staff and students in the community to give a full update and a sense of how things flow with the impacts of construction. So those are the biggies for this month's update. Any questions?
Is Pine gonna still be open to through traffic? Or
Yes.
is it just those drop off only? Is it just drop off?
No impact to traffic unless there are necessary moments where they would have to shut things down. But this is 2-lane traffic that stays open. What you're seeing is just highlighted sections where there's currently parking along
Right.
Pine that would just be designated as more like drop-off zones or temporary parking.
Here for
Correct. Yeah, and we're planning on having some signage out there to designate that as such. That's what we're working with the city of Whitefish to do some
Are we sending any direct communication to like the neighbors that are directly in this area about what's going on, when things are gonna start, kind of how things might be rerouted?
We haven't planned on that at this point, other than just the general community updates, not specifically targeting neighbors. Other than the construction traffic, they shouldn't be impacted really majorly. But yeah, go ahead, Dave.
No, I'm sorry, just gonna add to that, we are planning to go to a press release as well with a link to where you can get community updates.
Okay, I was just curious.
And then we can orient them in directions. But I think maybe some flyers.
Yeah.
Just surrounding the that might be a good idea.
Yeah, just to give it a heads up, that things will be starting out there soon. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I was thinking like with things starting, and then obviously parking's gonna be a little bit different, and so they might have, just thinking there's gonna, especially some of those streets a couple blocks off, might get some more kids doing through
or
there.
the new parking pickup.
drop off.
Yeah, I think that Pine area is tricky, that's why I was gonna ask the same question, because that is a parking right now, so that all those have to get moved.
Correct.
They're all, yeah, so I could just anticipate, especially if you're on Third and Fourth, like it's gonna be potentially interesting for them, which is, I'm sure they're prepared and anticipating something happening, that's nice to be good neighbors, I guess, like how to share that with them.
Right, and what we're proposing is that temporary parking different setup for during school hours. And it's used a lot right now for school parking during school hours, but just to help with flow of things during construction.
So I guess on that note, the yellow that says, that goes kind of around, I call it the zipline part, probably you also call it the Memorial Park. So around Fourth and Fern Pine, is that still gonna be open for parking or is it only drop off? Like people can still park there all day long, it's just an option to
Correct.
pick up. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
'Cause
that
I'm not-
area up there around Memorial is kind of a secondary drop off, just so people can know that that's available. It won't be necessarily shut down for parking.
Okay.
Pickleball crowd.
Yeah.
May I ask about the donor brochure? Where is that, are you sending that out to people? Is it if they ask or what?
I think the plan is targeted sending out in the initial phase and then available for the public thereafter. I think it is. And Dave, you might have more insights on that.
Yeah, initially, I think we're just gonna be meeting with some folks, sharing that with them, for sure. Have some conversations with people who have reached out to us. We already have people reach out to us and express a desire to donate to things that go beyond the bond that we're, and that's the title of it, Beyond the Bond is the title of that little donor brochure. And there are people out there who would like to donate. So we're engaged in some conversations with some of those folks, and then maybe at a later date share it out. I wanted to mention too, on those additional drop-off zones, that is the area that's just like you said, it's gonna be parking, it's not gonna be specified as drop-off. But a lot of times it isn't utilized as drop-off, and there are spaces available, so we encourage people to try to utilize that as a drop-off zone. In addition, that's the long-term plan for the city of Whitefish as well, but that whole area will be considered a drop-off area for folks going to Muldown and high school in the long-term planning for the city. So it would, in fact, additional parking spaces and a drop-off area along the street. So they had to get some grant funding to be able to do all that, but those are in some of the long-term plans for the city. So just encouraging that area is probably a good idea. Thinking about that's an option. And then the ones below the on Pine, near the school now or near the CSE, those will be signed as, and the city has verbally approved that already, saying that yes, we can do that. We're gonna specify that as a drop-off area. So, yeah.
Hopefully unlike the airport, you don't have to back up and.
Oh, yeah.
Be a lot. Oh.
That might cause more issues.
Especially with a lot of age of the clientele that's driving.
I want to mention something too, the construction zone area there too, that you see is completely going to be fenced off. So that area will have some constructions, vehicles going in and out of it, but that area will be completely fenced. So, so essentially, yeah, there will be some walking areas that are identified in those dotted areas. That's where people can get to and from certain parts of the high school. More information to come on that. We're working on getting some information out about that to staff and students and parents as well as communities.
And you still, I can't tell from the picture, is there still a front entrance to the high school or is the construction zone block that off? If you enter the high school now through different doors?
You can enter through the main entrance, through those dotted areas that come off of Pine at the southern part of that.
Okay, so you go through.
You go there and then you go near the building. There's a pathway that we've put in as part of the construction project.
Okay.
It's already in. It's a paved pathway that goes around to the front entrance.
Okay.
Yeah. So
New
it's,
and different.
and there's also some paved parking near, or paved pathway we put in near the CSE to accommodate kids walking around that way too.
Got it.
So we've added some
Wait.
walking ways, and we'll have walking pathways, and we'll have some signage as well, of course. So, we've been working on this for a while and getting near that start time, so it's getting exciting.
Ready for the picture?
Yeah, just now, I'm sorry.
Nope,
It's
go
so
ahead,
much.
yeah.
So we've got, coming up on March 4th as a community update, we planning to do that and provide more information like this in that, and that will allow us to provide some press releases to get more information out to other folks too. And then in addition to that, March 17th would be the day we're gonna come back in a special board meeting before a work session to go over the GCM contract, right? We're gonna update those at that point. So we'll have some board meeting at that point. And then after spring break, of course, the groundbreaking occurs, and we'll have a shovel ready meeting where we will have the opportunity to stand by some golden shovel.
A groundbreaking ceremony of sorts, more of a image, date to be determined on that.
Yeah, we have.
It's probably by the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
listening.
yeah, of course.
It's getting so
Thank
real.
you.
Thank you guys.
Okay. So we're gonna move on to C, which is a charitable gift agreement for swimming with Mr. Means.
Okay. Yes, I'm gonna click on that link. Now it's small over there and I can't see it. Okay, so charitable gift agreement here is for swim is the first one. We have 3 different agreements. Remember, we wanted to separate these out into 3 different agenda items for people, but you've seen these before. They're identical to the format that you've seen before, and this one is in particular is for swim. So it's the donation that's given to provide funding to support this program. Any question?
Isn't swim already started?
Yes.
Okay.
This is typically the time of the year when we've done them in the past, and
Okay.
so it came up around this time.
Okay, this was the church, because it says it's for the 25-26 season, so have
It
we
is.
already received our $15,000? So can we technically be swimming? I mean, isn't that part of
It's
the,
okay. Yeah.
okay, I thought that was some of the verbiage in here, was that they weren't allowed to participate unless the,
Yeah, we're a little bit late on getting this to the board, so, but they are in
okay,
process.
okay.
So this agreement would provide the funding for it, it's the primary.
But they, what do you mean as the primary vehicle for
It's the
funding?
funding. It is the funding for the program.
But there's no funding coming from this, this is just a contract saying they need the money in order to participate, so this
It is-
doesn't give any funding.
No, but this is the contracting funding.
But we always get the revenue
Yes.
Okay,
every year.
We have-
so do we need to make sure that we're doing this one next year prior to the season
This-
actually starting? I mean,
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem to be making any sense that we're approving something after, especially when the verbiage in here states, like, if you don't have the funding, you can't have a team, and now we're like, well, you have it, and I mean, it really doesn't, I'm fine if maybe there's a MOA or something that was made that says it's fine that they don't have the funding, but I think it's not okay to be making contracts after the fact.
Yep, I agree.
So we need to be
This one
getting
should go ahead of
done
the other.
earlier. And then if they don't have the funding, then we gotta figure out how to help them get the funding or work with them, and then that's a different situation other than they're already practicing, we don't have a contract, and maybe there's no funding happening.
I think we're tracking previously. So I
Okay.
think you're right on. Yeah.
When
We
does
should do
swimming,
this one swimming separately.
when does swimming start?
Carrie, do you know?
Like, when would you need to do it?
November.
November? I think it also should be done like probably in September, October,
Yeah.
like really early.
Yeah, and it doesn't have a date in here? It just says,
This is a 25-26 season, but our agreement was executed, it says our agreement was executed on December 15th, 2025. So I think we need to amend that because our agreement's being made on
This,
February 10th.
Yeah. That's good,
But
catch.
does it define, I didn't see where it
2026.
defined it's from November to November.
It doesn't. It won't do that.
We don't have to do that.
not in the
So it's
agreement
really
itself.
for a calendar year?
Like a season, whatever the season is, so they probably have like a 25-26 season, cause they're still swimming. Cause it crosses over, so it's like, this one says, I think,
Baseball's just 25.
yeah, cause so it's a longer season, so it's like the season of, it'd be like the season of the 25-26 school year.
Does it say that in there?
I saw something.
I'm pretty sure.
It just says executed December 15th.
Like the baseball one says before the start of the 26th season. and
Yeah, it says,
November was
the contributions on or before the start of the 25-26 season, so I guess under transfers funds, that's where they talk about it,
On or before the start of this point. So
which is
that,
under,
under one.
yeah.
So we'll do these in September, October, now, but that date on the top, you're right, I think we catch too.
The other ones also have that other date, December 15th. So do you just
I
change
think
it?
it's when they sign, so we'll have to just modify it to the signature date.
Yeah, I wonder, do we need to talk to our attorney about this dating situation? I mean, this seems weird.
We can modify the date here. We can
Okay.
Make a recommendation to modify the date.
But they've already signed it, but they signed it on the 15th, but we're not signing it 2 months later, then what, how does that happen? Because it really isn't executed until all parties sign, right?
Correct, and that's why you put the date,
Oh, and then underneath you just put the date that
the date,
Jeanette.
the date that we sign here is, that we put on top is the executed date.
Okay.
It'll be tonight if you approve it. Okay. That's how we do that with all of our things. And it happens frequently, but we're like a different group will sign ahead of time.
Okay, so that's fine, it doesn't matter when they sign
No,
it, as long
it does
as,
not.
So we just need to make sure we do it earlier.
Yes.
yeah, because we gotta get this one in next year, in like probably September, October
This year.
of 2026, yeah, next school year.
Well, yeah. Because this,
It goes on the list.
Goes on the list.
The
That poor new person's gonna have a list this long.
Are there any other clarifying questions on this item? Is there any public comments on this item? Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
Do these funds typically come lump sum or
Lost.
do they typically bring it all in?
I move we approve the charitable gift agreement from SWIM as presented with the amendment of the.
The motion was made by Quincy and seconded by Rainey, all in favor.
By Jerry.
Or Jerry, sorry, it was Jerry. I heard him face.
it's always the wilderness.
That's everybody. Okay, moving on to D, which is a charitable gift agreement for softball.
Okay. Well, clicked on the wrong one, sorry about that. The softball agreement, yeah, it has a different date,
Yes.
but we will have to modify that, of course, but it's the exact same language throughout. Any questions on the softball agreement?
So we have to.
Any questions? Is there any public comments on this item? Back to the board for a motion or further discussion.
I would approve with the amendment to change the date.
Second.
Okay, moved by Darcy, seconded by Quincy, all in favor? Okay. We'll move on to E, which is the charitable gift agreement for baseball.
Baseball, let's see what date it falls. It's gonna be December 15th. Added that one too, but everything is similar in this as well. Signature as well.
Why did the 15,000, 10,000, 25, how is that determined?
Those are cost estimates, so they're based on what it may cost to transport, to provide coaching for everything that covers the program.
So this pays for all of that.
Mhm.
And it always gets funded by the public?
Yes.
And private donation.
Donation.
Yes.
They do fundraising and
allowed fundraising, like if you participate, it's paid participation. Usually there's, it depends on the club, but usually there's a chunk that the parents pay and then a chunk that they fundraise for the other half. But it has been a conversation before of how do you know 15 versus 10, like it's an estimate based on the per kids and busing. It's a tricky conversation. I think it is.
Well, how many games we play as well.
Yeah, there's the number of games.
The more games you play, the more expensive, sure.
And how are school sanctioned versus which are not really school sanctioned because no school money goes to them?
They're school sanctioned, they.
Sponsored.
We're not schools.
They're not sponsored. Funded.
And that's just the way it is, or and how is that determined?
These are added sports, in the past they've come to the board and requested to be, have these sports
Right.
included. And when each group comes, they come with an effort to fundraise, to the commitment to do that, and they presented those to them.
And do they ever try to process things so that they become a school sponsor?
Yes.
Correct, yes, yes, so sometimes they will request that.
When it comes to the funding, do you have to fund like the same as Title IX, like you fund boys, girls, or is it different as far as funding?
Funding doesn't necessarily, I don't think have to be exactly the same, it's just the cost.
Okay, I was just curious how that matters.
I also don't think you have to have balanced numbers of saying.
Okay.
Versus school sport.
Oh, and sanctioned.
Oh, okay.
But if they're school sponsored
Then
and
you
sanctioned, then you have to have equal.
So Rainey, but like, one of the reasons why sports want to do this is because the school takes care of hiring the coaches, organizing the busing, and then you can compete on a high school level versus like the Glacier Twins baseball team can't compete against other high school teams because it's not. So if we had a swim team that wasn't like the Whitefish high school swim team, they're not under like the MHSA. So it's a hard conversation, but there are reasons why the sport wants to come in and be underneath the school's umbrella. And that's why they come in knowing they can't get the funding, because then it allows for like high school competition versus like a club competition.
So there's not a lacrosse, for example, is not school sanctioned.
It is, yeah, it isn't sponsored.
Yeah.
It's
But then
just
if they
one.
came, but then that would be another thing, they'd have to do a contract and then, then you could compete, but then that's up to the board for like, we wanna take another one of these on, because it's also tricky, it's very tricky. And then you get a lot of people who get upset because their sport
realize
isn't funded, and then there's a
do fundraising when other sports don't.
Yeah.
But there isn't enough budget to cover all the sports that the community would like.
So it gets really tricky. It's a really tricky can of worms.
I think it's kind of unique too.
State,
Yeah, I don't know, it's surprising, I always find anyway, when I talk to other people in other districts, and they're surprised, like, oh, they just assume that the swim team is fully funded by the school.
Right.
Because their swim team is fully funded by the school,
Because in some places skiing teams.
Right. It's all kinds of things.
And a lot of it has to do with when it was established. If it was established long ago and the funding was put in long ago, then that funding seems to continue. But if it's newly brought to us in the last several years and the budget doesn't have room for it.
Are there any other clarifying questions on this item? Is there any public comment? Okay, back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I move we accept the baseball contract with the change in the date.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Jerry and seconded by Rainey, all in favor? I have a quick question for Shannon, and Shannon, can you go back in an agenda, so let's say we had a student report, do we have a student report?
Yeah, she wasn't here.
What do we do in that instance?
I think you'd be okay.
Just have her go
Since
ahead.
it's not a voted item that people public comment on it, left because they couldn't.
Okay, so we're good. I'm gonna
So sorry,
put,
I
you're
thought
totally
we
fine.
started at 6:30.
You're totally fine.
I thought it was really weird that everyone was already
Well, if you want, we can do it, you can do it now, or we can do it after the next agenda item, whichever one you want.
I can do it right now.
You wanna do it right now?
I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
We also don't wanna hold you hostage the rest of the meeting.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, you're totally
I
fine.
don't know.
Go for it, you're
It's fine.
good.
You're
Don't worry
totally
about it.
fine.
I'll start with high school. As for winter activities in sports, speech and debate is defending their state champion title for the second year in a row. Congratulations.
Yes.
Great kids.
Swimming state is happening this weekend at Great Falls. And wrestling divisionals are also taking place this weekend in Dillon. And then following up will be state, which is held in Billings next weekend. Basketball is awaiting divisionals and state, that's happening in March. But as for basketball, we just had the crosstown game against Sioux Falls, JV and varsity boys and girls. There was a spirit week held on the Thursday, the Thursday right before the Friday game to kind of boost attendance and school spirit. It was we had a pep assembly, and we also had like dress up days. There was a math competition, assembly, wheelbarrow racing, basketball musical chairs, and other events and promotional events to kind of boost the attendance. There was 100 free tickets being handed out for the attendance of the games. I think if you didn't have an activity pass. And there's also cookies and cupcakes and pizza provided for the first 100 students at the boys and girls game.
Wow.
And little white handkerchiefs with there's like a green and gold W on it. So those are pretty cool because it was white out. It was a really big crowd, and I think it was like definitely needed for our student body, so that was fun. As for last weekend, DECA happened, and it was super successful. 85 students win. 45 of those earned recognition by placing top 8 or 6 in their events, and 6 people who placed in multiple events. And there are 11 students that are going to nationals this year, which is really exciting. Drama Club, which is happening upstairs, is making a production of Robin Hood come to life. I think there's the matinee for student body is on Tuesday, and then I think they perform Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is pretty exciting. The MSU Space Consortium is visiting the Whitefish High School soon, meeting with earth science classes throughout the day. There will be a Big Sky documentary film festival next week. Miss Britt, our librarian, is bringing that to the high school. Science Olympiad is headed to Bozeman. Pre-close doing avalanche training soon. And there is an assembly on the last Friday of the month called Imagine, Believe, and Achieve, which is sponsored by the H Foundation. So a lot happening. Now I'll read Levin's report from the elementary school. Middle of the year testing is over. Today, Moldown celebrated its 100th day on the day of school. Many of the staff and students celebrated by dressing up like they were 100 years old. As one student put it, like Mr. Coin. This week is Kindness Week at Holdown. Every day there's a new kindness challenge and a dress-up theme that goes along with it. Culminating this week with the Valentine's Day theme on Friday. March 5th, there is the second annual bingo night for families at 5 to 6:30. Bingo, food, and drinks are available. Fun for everyone. And it's like Moldown celebrated the end of testing day with an all-school assembly. This is a way of celebrating all the hard work the staff and students are doing to show growth. Middle school report. Today there was the 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th grade spelling bee. The 8th grade student representing Whitefish Middle School at Flathead County spelling bee on February 23rd. The Whitefish Middle School Student Council continues to achieve with the school and students.
they're running their annual D-Day Graham fundraising event this Friday, February 13th. The student council will be delivering Valentine's Day grams to students celebrating friendship. Next Friday, February 20th, student council is hosting a neon dance for the 7th and 8th graders. They're also starting to make preparations for the Whitefish Middle School talent show that will be taking place in March. Last week, 11 select few 8th graders participated in NAEP testing. School.
Like you got
Our school received many compliments from the NAEP test coordinators on how well behaved and respectful the students are. The 7th and 8th grade girls basketball teams are in the middle of their season and are experiencing success. Later this month, the 8th grade students will be receiving information from Whitefish High School about registering for their freshman year. Also, the 7th and 8th grade students will have a special guest, is it Luke? Luke Swesson, presenting a resiliency message to them during an assembly. This assembly is in partnership with the school district and the Nate Street Foundation. We're very grateful for their support. All in all, the first half of the school year has been successful, and we're ready for a great second.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just want to say, I love the idea of a mid-year pep rally. You know, like in the fall, kind of everyone's geared up and excited, and then it's just like, boom. So I think it's fabulous. And I'm sure it was a big student council initiative, and obviously Mr. Drown and Hallie were in part of that. You know, I just think it's great to, super fun. Yeah, super fun for everyone's morale and also for the sports that are happening mid-year to show them some love. So I think
It's
that's
really successful. I think that we boosted attendance because we were kind of struggling with that at the beginning of the year.
good job.
Like giving away free pizza.
There's a lot of layers to that. I was like, before I go to the neon dance. Sounds fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize again.
No worries. Okay, so we'll get back on, we'll move to F, which is the community engagement plan with Mr. Schultz.
Okay. Yeah, so this is part of our strategic plan. It's a component of it, and so that's why we'll have to change the date.
I'm on a date thing, I don't know.
But that's one area I didn't highlight. But the only thing I highlighted was just some areas that we've discussed in the past about updating this plan a little bit. So one component is the community engagement meetings. That used to say K-12 Connect, and had a frequency time. We would meet, I think, 3 times a year. K-12 Connect, and define them that way. I just modified it to call them WSD community engagement meetings, and meet as needed when and where. But the same kind of concept, it'd be topic driven, but if there's a topic that we would like to address with stakeholders, we would meet and
Did you get bingo night on here?
excuse me,
Bingo night?
I don't have that. Sorry. Sorry.
It's listed as small down.
I
It's
think
the
there-
second
there are
annual.
Okay, there might be on there, let me see. The building tour conversations is the next
Yeah.
item
Yeah, I
on
was
there.
curious about
And it just didn't, we didn't get a lot of participants there. I just don't know if it's the best strategy for community engagement. I highlighted one, because it used to say 3. You could do something like that one time a year, but they already do a little bit of that, bring people into the building. I don't know if the tour concept is catching on.
Right, because it kind of goes down with the next one with family night, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Um,
yeah. We do have family nights and things like that in the schools, and opportunities for parents to come in. And the high school has that visit for freshman, I think, and things like that, for opportunities to go and walk through the entire building and things like that, so. That's one thought I had, is that we could probably cross that one out and replace it with some more community engagement meetings or some other activities or more family nights or things like that. And then you can see at the bottom, I added the Whitefish School District at the farmers market, which
Yeah.
I highly recommend, because I think that was a great opportunity to engage with the community. had a lot of questions about the district, not just the bond, what we're doing, how we're doing things. Questions, great questions, and feedback. It's a great opportunity, I think. And it gets you outside, moving around. I would spend time walking kind of down the street ahead of time, have conversations with people. It's a great opportunity to have a conversation with the community. So I'm sure there are other ways to do that too. We've talked about in the past. You could add something in here like AM coffee meeting with the superintendent or something like that. Coffee shops or something like that. That's another option. But these are, we made some minor changes to it.
Oh, we don't, this isn't an action, this is just a discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One, I was just wondering, so under Roll Down and WMS Family Night, but under WHS it talks about like the newsletters, and I know WMS, I'm sure Roll Down probably is also sending out a newsletter.
That's what?
Do you guys send out a newsletter, like a monthly newsletter? Do we want to put that under that, instead of family, like, so it's similar to kind of like what the high school's doing? It's not gonna be the exact same, but it's a little bit closer. So what, under Roll Down or WMS Family Night, but then the next one is WHS Parent and Student Meetings, Common Newsletters, and School Visits. But Roll Down and WMS also send out newsletters. And so this is a community engagement, we're talking about
It's like the
communication.
format is just funny, like,
Yeah.
that it's not consistent
Make them
between.
similar.
Yeah, just make them similar, because,
Sure.
and just say newsletters, because they do send out newsletters every month, and they're really, really helpful, I think, as a parent. And then my other question, just thinking about like going forward, so like we don't have to make changes to this every year if we don't want to, instead of at the top where it says 24-25 Family and Community Engagement Plan, what if we just say it's the Whitefish School District Family and Community Engagement Plan, and at the bottom we put like the last time it was updated?
Yep.
Because it might not change every year.
I'm just trying to think if there's a requirement to do it.
Oh.
In accreditation, I'm just thinking.
But if it says when we update it, because right now it looks like that we're not using the accreditation until 25-26,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But again, it's like we're really behind the ball,
Yeah,
but
no,
we're
I think
not.
you're right. We can just eliminate that.
And then it's at the bottom say updated.
I think it must go with the cycle. Strategic planning, so.
Any other questions?
It is.
Yeah,
Oh, it is. Okay.
well, I have a question. It says, Muldown or WMS Family Nights, 2 times per year in K-8. Does that mean 1 time in each building? Does it mean 2 times in each building? What does that mean?
This is a guide for but I think it's 2 times per year in K. And so each building
We have 1,
will know we have
2.
2 each.
So
That's
has
what it-
Muldown already had 1? Because March is kind of late to have 1 if they're gonna have a second.
I don't know.
We had open house.
Oh, open house is considered,
Yeah, that's the only other open house and conferences.
well, but you could have a math night or you
Oh,
could
yeah.
have a family night of some sort.
Or bingo.
Yeah, bingo.
Or bingo, which would bring people in.
Yeah, so no, I think that's a great point, but I think they do have those open houses.
Okay, that's
So
why it says
there's
2 times.
Yeah. 2 per building.
I just had a question about how to measure, and I know, I'm sure this has to be on there, but it's so awkward, because truly, like under Whitefish School District channels for communication, how to measure frequency of sharing document with families. Like, are we somehow then held accountable to track how many times each of you share this document with the families for the channel of communication? So if we're held accountable to, are you following this engagement plan? Show me the number of times you shared the document with the families. I'm just wondering if we should be a little more vague for how to measure, because that seems like we are measuring something that I don't think we probably are measuring, I'm guessing. Or like number of emails read in press releases. Like, are we measuring that? Like, is there a way we're tracking people reading these emails? I don't think there is, so we're not actually measuring that.
We do look at those.
So you get that matrix or metrics back for like,
Every time
People.
we send an email, it tells us how many people read it, how many people opened it.
Okay.
Things like that. So do we keep track of it in matrix and look at it each year? No,
okay,
but we do kind of look at those information just for feedback. But we could,
I totally understand
Yeah,
why you're saying it
there-
here, I'm just
yeah.
saying, I didn't want it to come back and bite us if we're not like able to somehow magically pull, you know, what I mean,
Document up.
then like whatever, cause I have no idea, like you said, what kind of accreditation, like we need to do this for accreditation, I was like, I don't.
It's just that you have ways to look at
To
this, how
account.
you're
Okay.
progressing in these areas. I don't think, they aren't gonna ask us for numbers.
Okay. Okay.
It's just kind of an idea for us, to guide us. One way we could measure how we're doing with communication is how many people are opening our communication and looking. I don't think it requires us to do so, and we don't have to have that.
Okay.
Are there any other clarifying questions? Is there any public comment on this item?
I have public comment as a newcomer to the district. I'm wondering if you could parallel something like the freshman orientation as a WSD orientation. That is to welcome new parents and students to the school district at all levels. And a partnership with the FIT could also be an avenue by which to accomplish this. So the school district could have a piece and the FIT could have a piece in terms of pairing up families with students in the same grades or the same schools. I've seen this in other places where I've lived. And I've heard other newcomers to the district talk about finding it difficult to make a connection, especially before school starts and as school is starting. So it's really helpful for new kids. And I guess it could also be extended throughout the year, but particularly at the beginning. And this meets the strategic plan of being a safe, welcoming, and inclusive school district. And it's also something in the HR office that we're working on for staff. So we have an orientation and then a sort of follow-up discussion, a mentor program, all those kind of things. So it's a similar type of rubric, but just to have a more formalized structure for attaching newcomers to the district, students and parents to existing families, and also just staff and resources for your consideration. Thank you.
Yeah. Back to the board for further discussion or?
May I comment?
Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to mention that the back to school bash, and we provide family resources and things like that. I think you could do a combination of it at that event. So you could even have like new presentation to new people to the Whitefish School District, as well as attending the back to school bash. Combine expertise, because you're doing family resources at that point, you're sharing a lot of information.
When we were new, it was an elementary school for my kids, and they did exactly what Sarah was talking about. It wasn't formalized, but the counselor invited all the new families before the school year began. So we all got to meet each other, have lunch, and then she just went over the norms of the school, and if you're not happy, here's who to talk to, and then also gave everybody a buddy that was new and also a buddy that was established. So you knew on the first day that your kiddo had somebody to have recess with, somebody to have lunch with, but it wasn't formalized. So maybe something like that, formalized, would improve the
So maybe it would be its own separate.
And it, I gotta tell you, it makes such a big difference to my kids. It was a really big deal, so,
And the counselors are weird.
yes.
A mentorship program.
Yes, it was awesome. It was a mentorship program, yeah, for babies. Not me in second grade. It was really sweet. It was meant a lot. It's hard to drop your kid off at a new school.
Yeah.
So, just some formatting things, gonna be good end. I don't believe that we need a dot ahead of all of the item categories, black dots, I believe that could be removed. And the very bottom on the first page, how to measure should
Yeah,
be
that's funny.
consistent.
Should be over.
And there's a double dot.
And there's a double dot.
Elizabeth Ness.
Okay.
You know what else is part of your engagement plan that you don't have here that's going so well? Is your emergency contact stuff, like on the blackout day that we all have text. You know, that's really good engagement.
Can that be on?
Could list maybe an additional engagement.
Yeah, you have an
Yeah,
emergency system.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that too.
That doesn't, yeah, that's a great way to communicate.
Any other discussion on this item? there a motion on this item?
I move we approve with the amendment.
I'll second it.
Okay, so moved by Darcy and seconded by Jerry, all in favor?
Are the amendments clear, Dave?
There's like a lot of discussion, yeah, there was a lot of discussion, do we need to go through them?
Probably the one that I think would be the newcomer.
Yeah, maybe that would be something we could talk about too.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I would support putting that in here.
Yeah.
And approving this and not reading what that says.
Yeah, exactly.
If you wanna bring back an amended one, that
You're
would be.
probably gonna have your counselors have.
Yeah, you're gonna have to-
work it all out.
Yeah,
Can't
that's-
just tell the council
That's a
we're gonna
lot.
do it.
Does it have to be in there for that this year? I mean, could you try it without it being in
Yeah,
there?
you could always do
You
that.
do more than this, yeah.
Yeah, just direction, would you like me to bring it back, or would we could just make the amendments?
I think
Without
the easy
that
thing to amend would be to add the emergency context and stuff that
Yeah.
you established. The
That's it.
difficult thing to add right now would be the newcomer
Yeah.
thing, but we could just ask you to look into that
Let's start
with
the
your
process.
Start the
faculty and
process.
staff and.
Sure.
And we can
Yeah.
bring it back and amend it later.
Or maybe
next
as part of
year.
your
Next
student
year.
activity report, you could just share your status update
Yeah.
on where you're at with that conversation.
Okay.
But that's gonna be hard to.
I think it'll take a lot of
Right, yeah, yeah.
I think I got it. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay, I'll make it. Thank you.
Less dots.
Unless not.
Unless not.
I got that.
Fewer dots.
That one's easy.
All right, we will move to G, which is the school district City of Whitefish joint facility use agreement.
Okay, so this is an annual agreement as well. And this time of year is pretty good because actually this does get us into the spring activities and sharing some of our areas. So this is something we do each year. It lists the shared facilities and what the city of Whitefish will utilize in our facilities and what we will utilize in their facilities. It includes tennis courts and memorial armory buildings. I mean, all kinds of things that we work together on and share. And they also utilize the gymnasium at Mulvale, the middle school pods and things like that in the summer. Friday night, ski, snowboard if there's snow, all kinds of good stuff. So, and then what we've added here in recent years is that end list here where it lists some dates. And these are just guiding dates. Sometimes we don't make these perfectly, but they give us some guidance on when these things will be available and when we'll need them, things like that. So this has been reviewed by our administrators, activities director as well, and then also the city of Whitefish. And it's all been thoroughly reviewed for your consideration.
What are the dates? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But they
Page 7. You have to go after the signing page.
Oh, after the sign. Okay.
It's essentially an addendum to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, it's made a big difference. Huge.
Yeah. Stage with potties during tennis. Are there any
Clarifying questions on this item?
So,
Okay, back to the, is there any public comment on this item? Okay, back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
and we move we approve as presented.
second?
Okay, so moved by Darcy and seconded by Quincy. All in favor?
You're getting some contracts signed tonight. Your knee's gonna get sore with this.
I know. Moving on. Okay, so H is personnel recommendations for hire with Mr. Means.
Okay. First of all, an apology, we don't have the attachment that was found like we typically do, so I apologize for that. I think we're still getting the hang of this new program a little bit. Missed that there wasn't the attachment in there, but I have it in front of me, so I'll read from it and let you know regarding each recommendation for hire. The summer jumpstart coordinator, recommended. We had 2 applicants. Number of finalists were 1. We had to meet a certain criteria for that position. The interview team was myself, Lisa Bloom, Sarah Miller, and Kelly Miller. And a recommendation for hire, Fernanda Dominic. And then the next one is the custodian position. and that was a full-time position, 8 applicants, 3 finalists, Mr. Drown, Mr. Branstetter, Lou Hilton, and Adam Brody. Were on that interview. And recommendation for hire, Ralph Jones. And then the next one is the custodian full-time at WMS. And there were 8 applicants, 3 finalists, and the same interview team. And that recommendation for hire is Craig O'Connor. Then you can see the substitutes there. You might see some familiar names.
Are there any clarifying questions on this item? Any public comments on this item? Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
And move we approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved by Darcy and seconded by Rainey. All in favor? Everybody. Okay. We will move on to I. I'll let Mr. Means start.
Okay, yeah, this is a teacher leave of absence request, and so this is the point where we look at this absence request, as the board looks at this absence request. Board chair makes a determination of whether or not we need to go into executive session.
Okay. So as a presiding officer of this school board, I am calling this meeting to executive session for the purposes of individual privacy. All right, we are now leaving closed session and are back into open session. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? So back to the board for a motion.
Move we approve. I'll second that.
Moved by Katie and seconded by Darcy. All in favor? Yay. Okay. We will be moving on, announcements.
A report.
Yeah, okay, so not this one, okay. So we'll start with administrator announcements. I believe Mr. Drown is come up, share some information.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Fancy.
Oh, there we go.
Got some force behind it. Hold on. Jetsons.
Feel.
Little different kind of report tonight. If you're around me for very long, one thing you're gonna hear me say is there's more to every story. I'm always fascinated by how information can swirl. And many times the longer it swirls, the further it moves away from the original version. And we call it game of telephone. So I thought it might help to provide some clarity about something I feel very strongly about, academic rigor. And specifically, rigor with purpose and balance. So when I first came to Whitefish High School in 2012, we had 4 AP classes. Today we're offering 15. And I think that alone says a lot about how much we value strong academics and opportunities for our students. I want to clear something up. I know some folks have been wondering about. There is not a set limit on how many AP classes a student can take. There's no hard cap. These decisions are made on an individual basis because every student is different. We absolutely believe in our AP program. We believe in rigor. We want students to challenge themselves and stretch their learning. And at the same time, we're really thoughtful about making sure students aren't just loading up their schedules or just checking boxes, but are actually putting themselves in a position to be successful both now and later. Our goal is for every student to be college and career ready. We talk about it regularly. And that looks different for different kids. We also believe strongly in helping students maintain a healthy balance between academics, extracurriculars, and their personal lives. College Board guidance lines up with that. College Board rep recently shared that 3 AP classes at a time can be a pretty heavy load for most students. But they're also very clear that there's no magic number. What matters more is readiness, interest, and balance. And that's why we offer a lot of different AP options. So students can take classes they're genuinely interested in and feel confident that they can do well in. It's also why our counselors spend a lot of time talking with students and families, helping them think through what really makes sense. We also value the incredible opportunities available through FBCC, and we believe those should absolutely be part of the conversation when students are deciding on their course loads. So at the end of the day, this is really about doing right by our kids, challenging them, supporting them, and helping them grow with confidence. That's what guides the decisions we make at Whitefish High School. So like Paul Harvey said, and now you know the rest of it. So I wanted to share that a little bit because I know that our counselors have been having some conversations, following that meeting with the college board rep. And they start to hear this number 3, like I read right here. And if you walk away with, he said 3, I did. But what's the rest of the context? And I think that I wanted to share that at least, so that you're equipped, so that if you get questions, it shows that people care about their academics. I think that's marvelous.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And so, our hope is to, work with individuals and help them set up their pathway with whatever course load suits them and keep stretching them. So that was my administrative report. Happy to answer any questions or.
I was wondering actually, just thinking about do you think a block schedule allows for kids to maybe take more, maybe possibly more comfortable taking more AP because there's the longer block of time, you have the day in between. Did the college board, did the reps say anything about that? Are they very, I'm sure they other schools that are on the block schedule, but I wonder if that changes it for our students a little bit.
I think you could be onto something there. I shared with maybe a couple of you on a tour. I don't think all of you, when the college rep visited here from California, the regional person for this area, they were sent here deliberately because they said Whitefish has popped up on our radar. I was sent here to figure out what you guys are doing because you are a small school offering a significant number of courses, a significant number of your kids are taking them, and their performance on the tests. So he came up and like, well, what's going on here? How do you guys do this? So the block might be a part of that.
This changes the
college.
Yeah,
Yeah.
changes a little bit for learning capacity of it or something.
Very well, good.
So another question, Carrie, with these AP classes, I know traditionally freshmen do not take them. However, does this mean that a freshman who had all the qualifications, if the parents and the counselors decided that that child was able to take, I wouldn't say them taking more than one maybe, but does that mean that a freshman could also be eligible to take a class?
That's a great question. We added pre-AP a couple of years back. And that's specifically for freshmen, and it's the introduction to the kinds of demands that an AP course is going to require. We haven't had that level of conversation about other freshman courses, and if that's the case, is there a pre-AP that happens somewhere earlier or differently, that sets them up for that? I don't know.
I don't know, but I just, at one time, I remember, I think Jackie Gardner and Lisa worked on making requirements for different classes, and I don't even know what the requirements are. But there could be a special circumstance where there might be a freshman who might be ready to take one. I don't know.
I don't know either. I think it would take some work to dig into that a little deeper. I do believe in, every kid's different.
Yep.
Right? Doogie Howser, you know,
And we're individualizing and personalizing their education,
and
so.
get them what they need.
Yeah.
So I'm meeting with the AP teachers, let's see, it's a week from tomorrow. We're trying to sharpen up some of our communications and answer a lot of questions through we're calling it the one pager. I don't know if it's gonna fit on one page, but
Really small font.
yeah. Yeah, so it's
Everything.
so we're working on that and we're working on they talked about having from the AP staff a parent student informational session evening
Good.
to be able to answer a lot of the questions. You know, I think there's just you do it or you don't, but you don't necessarily get all the information in between.
So to directly address the buzz.
Yeah.
The buzz that I've heard circulating is that 3 is the magic number, just like you said. And if you're wanting to take more than 3, then you have to justify the 4th class or the 5th class. Is that true? Or you have to get special permission? Is that? I know that hasn't been the case before, but so this is a new thing that's.
That part is probably the new part that set people off a little bit, to be honest with you. We talked about how do we vet that? How do we, you know, if 3 is the number and there are lots of students that could take 4 and be successful at it, but how do we know that's the good thing for them? Right now, they just get on the computer and they can sign up for whatever they want.
Right.
A straight D student could technically sign up for 7 AP classes.
Unless they don't meet the prerequisite, right?
And yeah, well, there you go.
There you
So
But if they're qualified to take 7 classes, then currently they can sign up for 7 classes.
Yep.
So is there a new change where now you can't do that?
So we talked about a form. We talked about, you know, terms that you probably heard, application, petition, whatever those things are. We talked about that and we decided that, at least at this junction, nothing's been decided, you know, much more than this, but at least at this junction is that after the students sign up, that we can run a report and see who signed up for 4 or 5 AP classes. And then the counselors can review that with them and their family and say, okay, we see this, you know, if you thought about FVCC, we noticed that you didn't put any running start in there. Just kicking it around to see if that is something that it does interest you, or are you in every single activity that's out there and you're on student council and you're the president of this and the president of that and the DECA, and can you manage? We want you to be healthy. Every year we have kids in tears. We have kids requesting to drop classes because they sounded good in the spring and then the reality hit. So how do we connect those dots and help people make the best decision for themselves, but also live a happy life?
So I hear you saying there's no limit, but there may be some discussion with those who register more. Have some conversations and guidance around.
That's what a guidance counselor is for. Yep.
Which actually is my question, as someone who's not in high school, and I get these questions, I don't know, and you mentioned the individual decisions making, what does that look like? Like, if you're a parent and just wondering, like, what does that look like to come up with a pathway? Does the counselor meet with just, whether you're a transfer student who's a sophomore or an incoming freshman, like they just sit down and say, here's your 4-year plan, here are your options, like what guidance, what does that look like? Does that make sense? Is it
Yeah.
a counselor that's your person, or
So
how does, I just.
we start that conversation here in a couple of weeks. I think Carmelo or somebody was mentioning
Yeah.
that we're gonna, you know,
So
come over and
it's
meet
true
with
that
the 8th
makes sense.
graders. The registration handbook has a lot of that information in it. And
So
then
they get a
you-
handbook.
Yeah, so you can see all the different courses, you can see the different pathways, you can start mapping kind of your plan for 4 years. If I take this here, that means I can take that there, and then might be what my senior year looks like. And it's not, you know, it's not engraved in stone, but
That's
you
perfect.
start to get a lay of the land rather than see what sticks, or my best friend's taking that, so I'm gonna take that.
So there's like a manual, there's like a.
Yep.
But
And there you go.
are you saying that a counselor does not meet with each child individually?
They go into the classes. So no, they don't meet with them individually. They meet, so they go into classes here at the middle school. They have some conversation. They explain some things. They start to get them familiarized. We have a parent night for the eighth grade parents and students to come in that have questions so that we can answer further questions this spring here. That's coming up in the latter part of the month. But no, they don't meet with every individual student.
That's interesting because when I was going through school with 2,500 kids, you met with your counselor as a freshman individually and talked about a 4-year plan as an individual and talked about what college requirements were. And I just assumed that's what was happening here because I did that a lot of years ago. In a very big school.
Yeah. And I don't
They
know,
probably had a
I don't know
lot
what that
more
ratio is. You know, we have 2 counselors that split the alphabet in half. So they have,
75 each.
3, well, they of a particular grade,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Probably
there were
90 each.
500 in my class.
Yeah.
That is what you're saying, that the 4 APs or 5 APs, kids, they will have individual meetings with their parents and.
Yeah.
kids?
Yep. That we
So you
will,
have time to meet with the highest achievers, but not everything. That's creepy,
I'm just saying that's how we're trying to vet that end of it.
right?
Yeah. I think they think. I don't know what other conversations they have. I don't follow them.
approached by individuals for questions.
I haven't quite, again, kind of like Quincy, I don't really know, is there, like, can you go on teacher recommendations? So like if an 8th grader is coming up and the history teacher is like, I recommend this student is exceptional. like,
Absolutely. That's an important part of the
yeah, okay,
information.
that's-
Absolutely. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
And I totally changed, well, not totally changing the subject, because I do think that's going to the AP, and I just was wondering, if you and I have had some conversations, and maybe just update the board, we've talked about weighted GPAs and possibly, like, just, where's that process at? And I can't, we talked about it briefly, but
Yeah.
we just.
So
We've been chatting about.
it kind of was directly tied with the National Honor Society. Because the National Honor Society has a constitution, and they within that, we have set a GPA requirement. I think it's 875. It's pretty high. And so so it started with that, because if you change to a different grading scale, then it has a direct influence on that. So you couldn't separate the two. So the National Honor Society Staff Council, it's a designated staff council. It's in the Constitution. They are the governing body of the National Honor Society. They have met on a couple different occasions here recently and reviewed the Constitution in relation to the national Constitution to make sure it was in alignment, number one, and we can have stricter requirements. And so they reviewed all of that and made a decision that they're not going to change the GPA requirement based upon the fact that our National Honor Society has an extremely high number of members right now. We have 80-something members, and a school our size is typically down in the teens or 20s.
15.
And so you take percentage of your overall population, and that's kind of, there's a sweet spot of what should represent the National Honor Society. So that number did not change. So we stuck with that. The weighted GPA that's connected with that, that's a further conversation with the AP teachers when I meet next week.
I remember there was just some conversation.
There's a lot of reticence around it, just to be honest with you.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing how much the AP program has grown.
Oh.
I think that is to your credit, to your AP team's credit. I think the scope of offerings that Whitefish High School provides is really awesome. So thank you for doing that very much. And I also want to say, I think it's really great that the schedule is set up in a way that they can go to FBCC and they can have internships. And like, we've really thought through a lot of these things. I also think it's important to recognize that yes, taking 4 AP classes is hard, but also, and I think you'll agree, HARP is sometimes good. And as a parent, I have a kid who at the beginning of the school year was like, oh my gosh, this is too much. And it was really, she cried. It was overwhelming. But then she learned she could do it. Actually overcoming what was hard built a lot of confidence. Much like kids who do 2 sports, like that's a lot of school to miss, and we don't say like, oh, you gotta talk to your, like, we don't create obstacles for kids to take it to the next step. What we do is we provide the support for them to meet hard challenges, which means when they go to an even harder college or career, they have that infrastructure, that grit, those skills to call on. So I think it's to our credit that we have really rigorous options available, and that we, even when kids are struggling, that it's not okay, drop it, right? It's like, okay, come into flex time. We have this whole structure to really support kids to be successful.
Yep.
And I think that that's something to be really proud of.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as we keep growing, and we have grown with this program, we've learned a lot. We've learned about a lot about the other skills that are necessary for them to be successful beyond the content, right? Some of those other things you just talked about. So, anyway. All right.
Well, and certainly your programming, the things you're sharing right now about AP, but I can't help but reflect upon the other conversations we've had too about, like you said, this is a certain kind of kid we're talking about, but also the kids who, like, we just learned we're doing the avalanche training for free or whatever, or getting their welding certificate, like they have their path too. And I think, I think it's just really important that there's lots of paths.
Yep.
So I think that really, because it's as a school our size, you could have one path.
Right.
Like that's
No.
a huge testament too.
Yeah.
So.
If anyone asks me, one of the greatest things that we have it going for us, it's we have something for everyone.
Yeah.
We have pathways for each of those,
Yeah.
and alternatives outside of that too. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Here.
All right. I'm used to it.
You're gonna be on the left, Harry.
All right, now we'll move on to trustee announcements. I think first the survey timeline, Dave and I have been speaking to Darlene about she's going to do the communication survey again. So we want consistency and we want it to look very similar last year so we can actually compare data. And I don't think we've discussed a timeline. I might have. Or
For that would be, I think we did briefly discuss it, so it would be near the end of the year, April.
Yeah.
End of April.
Do you have any other?
That was the suggestion.
Yeah.
Just to be kind of consistent with the other one, but a little bit earlier than the last time we did it, so it could be reviewed at the end of the year, right, as people go, and over the summer in preparation again for the fall. That was the concept to share there.
And just stressing consistency with the one from last, just because we don't want it to be a complete like different.
See, not only with questions, but time.
Right, that was the admin, because I know we put the admin team under stress last year when we did it, and in May, but April's good with them too. We talked to them.
I have not talked to them about any of this yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
This
it's
is-
important feedback to get from them, yeah, send them out to deliver it and then make action
But
plans based on it.
I do think, I think the idea would be, again, it's a great opportunity to briefly kind of share that with staff in the spring. But move into further discussion.
Yeah, I thought, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it was unexpected. Good foundation,
But I had not had that conversation with that yet, so I'm hearing it for the first time.
They're not paying attention.
And
So I just heard from about the school PBIS school climate surveys today. And one of the suggestions was to wait till after spring break for those. Sure. Any thoughts on that?
Well, that's kind of our mental health survey, isn't it? The PBS.
It is basically, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, if we wait until after spring break, are we really getting a reflective answer about how people are
Because
feeling?
by then they're all
And
healthy
then they're
again.
kind of happy again, because it is when on spring break, when really the hardest time is between,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty tough time now, like January, March, so I'm wondering if maybe that's not the best idea if we're really trying to gauge mental health. Pre-spring break, I think is probably maybe a little bit more like,
Yeah.
or like middle of March, I don't know, I don't know, like after spring break is really I mean, I'm gonna have a much different survey if you give it to me March 13th than if you give it to me on April 13th. I think
Right.
for that reason, the only thing that what's important is that we're consistent, right? So that we have the benchmark that. Right.
But we could switch it now for future years, if we're gonna do one in, it could back to a delayed April, already, you could do another one in April.
But one's just for staff.
When we doing lunch.
Yeah, but it still takes time as.
So it's just something, I don't really have like a strong opinion on it, I just think it's something to consider.
Oh, January.
If we're worried about mental health,
Then it might be worth doing.
things are gonna probably go south this time of year.
I just like I like spacing them out by at least a month because of the feedback we got last time.
Yeah,
So
we do it
whatever
every
we
during
do,
spring
they
break.
make it be spaced out. Go in.
Yes.
Possible, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think of the timing to go for it, right after that. It's a consideration. It's a school climate survey, so it's not necessarily mental, but it does get at some of those feelings.
You know, it's really strong at first about it, it's just a bit considered.
I do think the time needs to be though too, because if we're doing one in April, we're doing one right after.
Mental health fund had like officials and it's every other year. Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah. That one's not up
So then
for till next year, I believe.
What is that called? Like, okay.
Dana Remley.
It's the
Yeah,
one that she
yeah.
talks about. That's a mental health fund.
Well,
Oh.
we do have there's a
Okay.
mental health, that's a whole nother topic,
Right.
mental health screening that's, that we're exploring doing again. It's a depression screening, it's like that, 7th to 8th through high school. We're running into some challenges that we're looking at some potential others. The new legislation requires people to opt in to.
Instead of opting out, you have to opt in.
Yeah, to opt into it, then it's not really a screener anymore.
Cause you don't have everybody, the whole population.
Yeah, you may get less than half the population doing an instrument, and then what is it? It's something else.
Yeah, well, and more than likely to get people opting out who should have taken it.
And there are other screeners that are based on characteristics of self concept and things like that that are good at screening out. It's more of a traditional screener that gives you information. It's not going to tell you whether or not someone has characteristics of depression necessarily, but it gives you some information. Those could be an opt out. It's the screening of depression that makes the other one who opt in.
The YRBSS.
There you go.
Yeah, the youth risk behavior one.
So I
That's the
think-
one that tells
Tells
you
you the-
behaviorally if things are getting better or worse. Okay.
So do we still wanna try and have a pre-spring break?
I don't care, like I said, it's just a thought.
I just want to space out.
Oh, I agree about.
So because of that, was solid feedback by everybody last year. There was survey fatigue. We thought it impacted people's responses. And how, and if it did respond at all, engaged with it. So that's all I care about.
I agree. But even if it's not the same population doing the survey, it's.
The same people are processing it all.
Just before we make that
Yeah.
decision, there's one other survey where there's a CNA survey.
Yeah, that's what.
And there's a question whether or not you want to do that this year. I think that was brought up in part 2 on, so that's not a thing to talk about. That was gonna be changed to be more in line with the strategic plan, just a measure of how we're progressing on the strategic plan. That can be done every 3 years or 2 years or whatever.
I just think there was.
Well, we talked about
Figuring out
revamping
last
that
year.
entire survey.
Exactly.
So.
Maybe a complete rewrite.
I like that one. We should.
I agree. That's
Yeah.
Of the CNA.
Bump the CNA.
We're gonna do it next year.
Yes.
Yeah,
Here's it, right, I'll play a bunch of these.
well, let's Dave.
Up on the list.
This list is growing.
Bump the CNA, which it probably will be called that. Something. Strategic plan survey.
Next year.
Next year, okay. So then, like, if you go back to then this year,
We just have the 2 then.
because you step 2, then that makes it a little bit easier to make this separation. So what do you think? I think we could either do it after spring break right away, and then one at the end of April, or one for spring break.
Yeah, that would probably work. Let's do that.
Okay,
Right after.
right after spring
And
break,
then end of April.
and then end this.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. So that will give us time. We're about to do a principal survey here with who, so I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
So give us time for that.
And then the other information, we're discussing canceling the February work session. as a lot of the items that were going to be on that probably are not gonna be ready for that meeting. And plus we have plenty of meetings. Is everyone, are you comfortable, everyone comfortable with that?
No, I really wanted to.
You're a liar.
Yeah. So then I think they'll go until February.
Yeah.
I know, okay.
More meeting.
Classic version.
Jen wants me, okay.
No, these guys think they're even smiling, they're not even joshing.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Any other trustee announcement?
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge the communication around the power outage.
Yeah.
I thought it
Yes,
was great.
yeah.
What I really appreciated as a parent was we got the initial one that said, we're aware of the power outage. You will get an update at 6:30. And
Yes.
at 6:30, another update came, and I just thought it was so great to let people know what to expect and when to expect that next announcement.
Checking in.
We weren't like worried or checking or wondering when it was gonna come, and you know, it just, I thought that was really great to give a definitive of like, this is when we're gonna check back in, and I thought it worked really well for the people who apparently got it. I know some kids still showed up to school, so in the dark. But anyways, I thought it was great, and I really appreciated the deadlines that kind of gave to families. So thank you.
Those have come a long way.
Mhm.
It was huge.
So thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Much better.
You're getting this, your power is not out.
Well,
Charge for phone while you were sleeping.
I do have to say one thing there too, that those are challenging things to work through. A lot of things happen at the same time, you have to do it as a team, so.
Yeah.
I know I can pick up the phone at 4:30 in the morning and call Mr. Branson. He'll wake up.
Thanks for having your phones on, guys.
And so that's pretty amazing to have that.
Yes.
We worked through from that time on, all the way through that morning. Mr. Drowns was, I think, called not too long after 5 AM to get his support. He was involved in all those decisions as well, so it's definitely a team effort, putting our heads together, trying to figure out how to communicate out most effectively.
That's an example of success, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
and then obviously we're working with the bus company, and I mean, that's a lot of things to organize.
Well, you're working with bus, we were talking to our food services department, we were talking to Chad, who Smith is on site at about 4:30. We're talking to the county superintendent's office, all the preschools in town, private schools, and only Bissell, and all the superintendents. So, yeah,
Well, yeah, that's great.
just a lot of communication
By all.
in the background. And then it's really nice to have folks like Mr. Branson, are so skilled with some of those things down. So,
You must be a morning person, Josh.
Wakes up easily.
Okay, all right, any other announcements? No. Okay, so we'll move to superintendent announcements.
Yes, okay, so. Information is highlighted interestingly there, just a little different, this whole format is different.
It is different, I know, yeah.
So yeah, so of course, all the upcoming meetings, events and important dates have gone over so well. You have calendars there, you click on.
Can I ask you a question about calendar? Seems like I saw something fly by that on the 5th and 6th of March, we are doing interviews. And I have the piece of paper next to my computer. And I wasn't, but it's not on the Google Calendar.
It's
and-
not,
so
it won't be confirmed probably till Thursday night.
Oh, that's
Okay.
why it's, okay. That's
But
a tentative
tentatively.
schedule.
That's a tentative schedule.
Yes, it's nice. Very.
Okay, thanks.
Saturday weekend.
Good.
Possible.
And so there is one update that I wanted to share regarding Marketing Mountain Transportation. We have been discussing with them extending their contracts. We've had some preliminary discussions about aligning those contracts. So in terms of the activities and the school bus transportation as well. So they the school bus transportation is coming to an end, and I think so go ahead, vice versa. I think transportation is coming to an end, the school bus has 1 year, we're trying to align them at the same time. Just, it's an addendum for each to extend them, so we bring it towards consideration. It will include the financial amounts increases as well. That has to be annually, no matter what. But we are considering bringing forward to the school board next March for those contract amendments. Addendums. Lucy. Anything else on that? All right, and then, let's see. Enrollment updates, you can click on enrollment, there is a lot of fluctuation, as you can see, it's pretty amazing. In February, we're down a little bit further, but we're also, as you can see, I think, is that 18? And then 27, but all over the country and valley and different areas, so it's interesting to see that fluctuation continues, so. See that come out.
Moving in and out though, and really.
And it's an interesting time for that. We're finishing up our A&B count. So we're watching that very closely for our budgeting purposes. That be coming up on our next board meeting.
And can I just comment on that a little bit or ask you, Dave, and not to put you on the spot, but this is a great example of what Sarah had brought up about onboarding new families. So it doesn't just happen in the fall, you know, so I guess as we look at that conversation, what did that look like for families to come here? Like 18 new enrollees.
Yeah.
And look at how many are at K through 5, K through 4, you know, that's just a lot. So I think that's a great conversation to have. Like, it shouldn't exist at just one certain time of the year. It should look something we can, you know, that's something that just clear.
That's a great point.
As we look at that, it's a different topic, but relates to this.
Yeah. Any other comments and questions? And then we have our resignations here. You can see the list of resignations as well as retirements as well. So we will be opening some positions soon. We'll see those. They're gonna open now. Next year.
Okay, we'll move on to Director of Business, Vacancies.
Thank you. Greetings from the business department.
Yes.
I'll begin my my presentation with a few words in regards to the May 5th election. February 9th, yesterday was the deadline for filing declaration of intent to declare candidacy for university candidates. And I'm happy to announce that we have 4 candidates for our 3 open seats. 2 incumbents, Jerry Boxage and Shannon Hansen. And then we have 2 first-time candidates from the community, Gloria Nelson and Karen Hilding. So those 4 names will appear on the ballot. I'm very happy with the new, as you know, with the new timeline and with the new deadlines as far as elections go. Having the deadline for trustees this early gives everybody much more time to prepare the ballots and print them and get them ready for the machines and everything else. You may remember that before the deadline for candidate filing was the last day of spring break. So then you only had 6 weeks between the deadline and the actual election when everything had to be done. So that was it wasn't a significant effort. So now I think it gives the Flathead County Election Department much more time. And as we know, the more time we have to do things, we're less prone to errors. So that's an update on that. Our financial report, I don't want to say looks pretty boring, but there's nothing really out of the ordinary for this time of the year. We've been chipping away on those federal grants fairly consistently. You can see that the grants that are supporting our personnel expenses. Are usually those spending levels are, you know, at about 75% of, because it coincides with the school year. Some of the smaller federal or state grants that do not support our personnel costs may have already been spent or will have to still be spent though. Any specific questions about this month's report?
I have a question, I just have a comment. I for one appreciate that our budget reports are boring.
Thank you for thinking. Let's keep it up.
I'm guessing it takes a lot of work to make that.
To make them pretty?
No, I'm sure how pretty
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
I like how pretty they are.
Yes.
They are pretty.
Yes. Also, by the end of February, the auditor will be on site for at least one day, so that's always not my favorite day. So I'll probably have, if not at the March meeting, then definitely at the April meeting, I will have known the results of the financial audit. But it's, you know, it's never routine. In my opinion, it is, but it's never only routine. They always throw me a curveball. Yeah.
Can I ask a clarifying question on just the state grants?
One day grant.
I was just,
Yes, I'm not.
I'm not. Yeah, I just, the transformational learning and the gifted and talented, so do both those monies have to be used up by end of 26?
That's correct, yes.
So the fact that there's 100% still available,
Yeah.
is that weird? Like, should
Not
they spend
really.
their money or what?
Not
happens?
really.
Okay.
If you look at those dollar amounts, they're so low that we won't have any issues.
They could burn them up, okay.
Lucy can spend that personally.
Great, that's what I'm like.
Yes, I'm sorry to say that those are very low dollar
Yeah.
amounts.
Well, the transformational especially is like not much, but
Yeah.
thanks, which is crazy.
And the same with the McKinney Bento. Actually, Sarah and I were talking about it this week. Sarah was on the phone call with OPI to talk about this grant specifically and how best to spend the money. So we're working on that. Thank you, Steph.
You can see anything left on the table.
Oh, no.
Thanks.
Any other questions, please? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? There's public comment. Is there any public comments on the consent agenda? Back to the board. Move to approve.
A second.
Okay, moved by Katie and seconded by Quincy, all in favor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one last motion.
I move the adjourn.
Second. Okay, moved by Darcy and seconded by Quincy, all in favor. Okay, thank you. Yay.